I want to change something here because, there you go, that's even better.
There you go. What's up, Bill?
Hey. All right, so yes, I am Bill Rem, and I am going to be talking about the correct slide. There we go. I wanted to get it off of that. It was kind of like fading in and out of the same slide. Anyway, I am the database team manager and broadcasting live from the world headquarters of the GSI database team in Austin, Texas. Now, I want to go through a little bit of overview of the Oracle Cloud as it relates to databases. I don't want to just jump into it, but I am going to talk about some of the basics. I'm going to zoom through. There's a lot of information on some of these early slides. I really want to get to the demo and do that instead of spend a lot of time talking about what the database, OCI database is. But for those of you who are new to it, this will be good for you. So the OCI database service is, you can do Exadata, rack, BareMetal, VM, single instances, whatever you want. It does it automates everything in there from the patching and backup and restore. Not that you couldn't do it yourself in certain circumstances, but they're really trying to move all of that busy work off to the, off to the automation and let you be a data scientist, I guess. That's what they're doing. You get all the same kind of high availability, data guard and rack and stuff, and the security and integrations with other parts of OCI. And if you don't want to do any of that, you can bring your own license. We have several clients who have set up OCI instances with their own, they just installed it on a regular VM. Now as far as VM databases go, there's two types. There's a single node and a 2-node rack. And this is, this is what most people do. They're going to spin up just a database. You can only have one home. You cannot change any of the CPUs. And there's no local storage. All right. Now, once you create a VM database, you can't change the number of cores. And if you're launching a database system that has, when you create a database system, which I'll show you when we do create one, is that you can pick a whole bunch of different versions and sizes and things right in that first window. But there's not going to be any local storage. Like I said, you can't change any CPUs. And here's a slide on the storage. Now the storage is, I got this kind of fancy 3 graphic thing, and apologies to Oracle, I did shamelessly steal graphics from their OCI level 100 presentation because they just make such good graphics. So anyways, here's what that looks like. The storage for the VM, it relies on ASM and it's block storage, and the data and RECO groups have their own separate block storage, and it's required for these VM rack systems. There's a fast provisioning option, which we'll be showing you in a little bit. It's going to create all the mounts, all the groups, the physical volumes, and set up all the block storage for you. Just for everybody's information, all of these graphics here and the words that I'm saying even are in this presentation, so don't worry about taking notes. When I was setting this up before, I took a bunch of screenshots of everything it takes to create this VM. So what I'm doing hands-on, I will show you the screenshots as well in the slide. There's also another thing that's called BareMetal, which is like an actual physical machine. We're not going to show any BareMetal today, but that is available for you. You can have, it's a huge amount of stuff, 52 cores, 51 terabytes of NVMe. There's a couple of gotchas though. As soon as you click provision on BareMetal instance, you get charged right away, and it's really expensive. So don't go out and play with your OCI login and try to connect to create a BareMetal instance, because I think it's like $1,000 right off the bat or something ridiculous. So don't do that, but it is available if you need it. Then they also have Exadata, which is their top tier. It's the fastest. You can expand it. It's more flexible and obviously it's good at parties, like I said. And this is also kind of like BareMetal. You're billed by the hour as soon as you create it. This is all infrastructure managed by Oracle as well. You can choose a half, quarter, or full rack, but you can't change that without, you have to copy everything to the new rack to get the larger size. You can't just, it doesn't just expand automatically. And it's also difficult to change any of the storage as well. So some of the kind of stuff you can see with the Exadata, they have their base system and the quarter rack on the different rack sizes on X6 and X7. Definitely a lot of resources that are available with this. So if you're looking to spin up something that's a production for a giant company that needs sub microsecond speed and whatnot, you're going to go for the Exadata. So then here's just a little recap of the database systems. I'm kind of in the way there. Let's see if I can get myself out of the way so you can see the two words that you probably don't care about. So your virtual machine, you can add more virtual machines certainly, but you can't change the number of cores. You can only have one home, one database, and it uses block storage. On the BareMetal, CPU can't change. A CPU can change, storage can't change. You can have multiple databases, but only one edition, so enterprise edition basically. But you can have different versions. Exadata, you can have anything you want. The storage, we got block storage and then local disks, and then the Exadata has flash cards and local disks. Rack is not available for BareMetal. It is available for Exadata, and only 2 nodes on a VM. And DataGuard is available for all these different services. All right. Now here's the versions that they support. You can do obviously standard edition. It goes all the way back to 11.204 right now, and this is as of November. Is the information I have. The reason they're doing that is because there's a ton of people still on 11.204, and there's a lot of people in the cloud on that version. But you can go all the way up to 19.3. For those of you using JD Edwards, JDE will never support 18C. It's going to skip right to 19. But Exadata only uses the Extreme Performance Edition. If you're going to get Exadata, you're obviously guessing you're going to want DataGuard and TDE and all that stuff. So you want to keep that in mind, that it's going to be quite expensive when you decide to start using that. All right. So here's kind of a little overview of how it works. On the standard edition, you just get the instance and you get TDE. Enterprise edition, you get everything that comes with Enterprise edition. And you move up to high performance, you can use CDB, PDB, and partitioning, advanced compression, and whatnot. So when you say an Enterprise edition, you get Enterprise edition features. It's the ones that you get normally if you buy Enterprise edition, but you don't get any of the extra stuff that you have to pay for. So you got to go to the high performance. You have to go to the extreme performance to get rack and DataGuard, active DataGuard. So if you really want everything, you have to go to the highest level of the editions in the cloud. So now when you're managing database systems, this is kind of this is just a screenshot. I'll be showing you the actual stuff later. You can use the console to perform many tasks. You can launch database systems from here, start, stop, reboot, and you can scale CPU cores if you want. And this is only in BareMetal. You can scale up the storage and obviously shut down systems and delete them completely. Patching is automatic. Here's a little screen that shows how the patching works. It's N-1 patching, so they're going to patch you to the most recent one. Since it's automatic, it may not be necessarily. This is one of the reasons why some clients go to bring your own license, because they can patch it on their own. But do understand that if you're setting up a system that is a single node standard edition, it's going to automatically get patched, and that can't be. There's no rolling patch available for that. Backup and restore is automatic as well. You just go into a screen and say you want to restore to the latest, or to a timestamp, or to an SCN. It's all point and click. So these automatic backups are written to Oracle Object Storage, and you won't be able to view these objects in the backup and restore. There's some presets and things that you can look at for backup and restore, but that's backup and restore is out of the scope of this presentation. But it is there, and it's something you can select while you're setting up your VM. Now here's what high availability looks like in the cloud. In a region, you have 3 availability domains, and there's other regions too. You always are going to have 3 availability domains when you're setting up something. And inside each domain, you can have different computers, different databases, and not just databases, but any kind of thing that you want. And to connect between these domains and outside the domain and to other regions, there's various edge connectors that you'll create to do that, which is, if you watch the OCI level 100 videos, they do go through some examples on how to do that. The data guard, here's a little graphic of what data guard would look like between availability domains. And this is supported on virtual machine and BareMetal, but not Exadata. It's limited to one standby database per primary, so you can only have 2. But it does everything that data guard actually does. We're not going to set up data guard, but it is available for you on OCI. And here's a quick slide on security. Same thing with the availability domains. You can have different levels of security across the different domains, and you can control many things, including how the gateways work, SSH keys, the authority for people to actually log in, add multiple network cards, and so on and so forth. Now here comes the cost. Standard edition is, this looks cheap. I don't know how many people actually have experience with the cloud. When you see it's 40 cents an hour for pay-as-you-go, or 26 cents an hour for just to have it pay by month, that seems like it's pretty cheap. But then you got to multiply this times the number of CPUs, and you have 52 CPUs, and you go down to the Enterprise Edition Extreme Performance. That's $2.50 per hour per CPU. So you're looking at a huge amount of cost at the end of the month. So when you're thinking about setting something up, keep an eye on the cost. And remember, when you go in to practice this, when you set this up and every moment it's running, you're paying that 40 cents a minute for every instance. So for just a caution, if you do go into your personal account or your company account, shut down your database instance as soon as you're done with it if it's not being used 24/7. Otherwise, you're going to be very surprised at the end of the month when your credit card bill comes in. Or your boss is going to be really surprised, and you're going to find yourself maybe in a little bit of trouble. Now here's the BareMetal pricing. This is just, it's astronomical. Well, I mean, for me, I'm never going to buy a BareMetal server. But you start paying the cost of the BareMetal immediately, regardless of whether you have any OCPUs. So there's a base cost for just to get it, and then there's additional cost for every OCPU. So you can see there's the Enterprise Extreme Edition is $15 an hour to have that for just two OCPUs. So you better really need that desperately. Exadata is quite expensive as well, but it's only money, right? They see the quarter rack is their cheapest option, $63.84 per hour. Then additional OCPUs are $1.68 an hour. And if you compare that to, buying an Exadata is pretty expensive. And at the end of the year, I don't know how much an Exadata costs off the top of my head, but they're pretty significant in terms of initial investment. But when you think about how that goes over time, some people think, well, I could just buy an Exadata, and that's only going to cost me however many hundreds of thousands of dollars that is, and then I can run this for 5 years, and I won't have to worry about the hourly cost. But then you got to remember, you have to have a DBA to run it. You have to have a place to put it and have air conditioning for it, And then now you're in charge of everything, including the hardware. If a CPU goes out or a power supply or something goes wrong, now that's all on you. And if you need to have another Exadata, now you have to have two, and all of your costs just doubles. So when you think about all of those costs involved in buying the physical hardware, the actual cloud cost, even though it seems astronomical, and well, it really is, but it's probably going to be a lot cheaper in the long run for you. All right, enough about that crazy stuff. Let's talk about creating an instance here. So I am I've got this all done in the slides. So as I go through the slides, I'm actually going to stop and actually I'm going to do the things that are on the slides. I always take pictures, take screenshots of everything I do, because sometimes I will be in the middle of a presentation and everything will just stop. I won't be able to access anything. So having the slides means I can at least click through the slides that I've created and still show you what I wanted to show. So here we go. So when you're creating a new instance, the very first thing you have to do is not create a new instance. You need to you need to create a private key, because this is going to be necessary for you to do pretty much anything in the OCI. So let me get rid of this screen, and I'm going to pull over my key generator, which is called PuttyGen. So you can go download this for free and just look up PuttyGen. So all you got to do is you download this, and then you come in here and you click generate. I'll demonstrate that for you. So you create some randomness, and then you get this public key here. And then you want to also create a passphrase, because you're going to save this key, the private key and the public key, so you can use it later. So I've already created a passphrase. It's on my other screen over here, and I'm not going to show it to you, so don't ask. Then we save the public key, and see, I've got a whole bunch. So I'm going to say this is called public key 5. And then I'm going to save the private key as private key 5. But you want to grab this and copy it first and go put it in a text pad, or say, a notepad or something, because you're going to need to copy and paste that later. And you accidentally close this window, then you're going to, you're going to have to find it all later. So I'm going to scooch this off the screen. Everybody's created their private and public keys. You've copied off your thing to the other one. Now we get to actually go to the Oracle Cloud. So let me go to this is the main screen that you'll see when you log in. You can go and create. You go through all these wizards. You can create your VM instance if you want to, but really, it's going to be, you don't want to immediately dive into creating an instance. I mean, you can't. Well, you can. I guess you can. So what I always try to tell people to do is you want to be a little bit organized when you're setting up your stuff. So you want to, like you create folders in your Windows Explorer or whatever. You want to create compartments inside Oracle Cloud. So compartments are, if you click the little hamburger on the left side there and go all the way down, scroll down to identity. And here's where you can add users and groups and things like that, but I've already got a user, and I'm assuming you probably have a user in there already. You can create a compartment. So click on compartment, and it shows you all the compartments that you have here in your, these are all the root compartments. So right now I've got a compartment for me called, funnily enough, Build Compartment. And inside Build Compartment is my webcast compartment. Now if you want to create a compartment of your own, I can create a new one called OCI DB create, I guess. I don't know, it doesn't matter. And this is the compartment for my webcast today. And the parent compartment is, I'm going to change that to webcasts. And that's all you got to do. These tags and other things, those are optional. You don't have to do those. So I'm going to create compartment. So I'm going to go into the webcasts, and hang on, it takes a second. I'm going to refresh that. But in a nutshell, that's how you create a compartment. It doesn't really matter, this child compartment, whether I have another one anywhere or not. I'm gonna use this webcast compartment. So now once you've created your compartment, because you're an organized person, you like to keep things straight and give it a little bit of order. Now we can create, no, not the database. So let me back up. I'm making the assumption that you haven't done anything on OCI yet, and that you have just got your account and you want to create something from scratch. So there's nothing here on your system, and you need to create all the components. So now the next thing you need to do is create some networking stuff. The first thing to create, you go to networking and click virtual cloud networks. I've already got a couple of networks created here, and I've got these because some of these things in OCI take a long time to do. So I went ahead and made these in advance. But when you get in here, you probably won't see anything. You can either do networking quick start or create virtual cloud network. Now for you, if you're just setting it up to test it or maybe to do some kind of non-prod stuff, do the networking quick start, because it sets up all the things that you need in order to access your database. If you click create virtual cloud network, it's not going to set up any of your NATs or service gateways or any of the routes or anything like that. So I'm going to click on networking quick start. And since this is going to be for us that we want to actually access this later, I mean, I know you will, I'm going to pick just VCN with internet connectivity so that I can connect to it just by SSH or through Siegel Developer or something like that. If you want to set up a VPN, you pick this the second one so that you can connect. If you have a way for your VPN to connect to it from your on-prem network, you pick this. But I'm going to pick the internet connectivity and then start the workflow. So the very first thing is, what do you want to name it? It's totally up to you. I'm going to say webcast VCN 3, and the compartment is going to be webcasts. So I see in the drop-down list, you've got your corporate root container, and then whatever containers under that. So you see I have my webcast one, and then the one I created earlier is underneath webcast. It's just containers all the way down. But I'm going to pick the webcast one. I'm not going to get into networking and CIDR blocks and things like that. Just take the example. If you're doing this for the first time, put in the example CIDR block, which is 10.0.0.0/16. Then you're going to have a public subnet. You have to have this, which is, that's going to be a subnet of the /16. And if you don't know what to do, just put the example in, which is 10.0.0.24. If you want to have a private subnet, go ahead. I say go ahead and do it. You're going to want to maybe test that out. Generally, when we create a database, we don't want to use a public subnet, but for this case, I'm going to put a public and a private, and I'm just going to use the example of 10.0.1.0/24. So because we have a /16, we can go to 10.0.1 all the way up to 15 and have a /24 underneath each one of them. If you watch the OCI Level 100 videos and go to the networking part, they explain this in great detail, and I'm not going to go too much into that. Now we just click Next, and here's where we review. So we're going to name this Webcast VCN 3. It's in the webcast compartment. There's all of our CIDR information, public subnets, and if anything looks wrong, see, it's already created an internet gateway, a NAT gateway, and a service gateway. So internet's for us to come inside, NAT is to translate things coming into private subnets, and service gateway lets you connect out to block storage and stuff for backups or whatever. It created a default set of security lists and a default set of route tables so that you can route things in and out, which gives you your public access, your public IPs and everything. So just click create, and it zooms right through this list, and it's all done. So there you go. You've got your virtual cloud network finished. Click on the bottom, View Virtual Cloud Network, and there it is. It shows that you have your public and private subnets. And if you click down on the resources side, okay, is that correct? No, it's over there. Oh, we got something sneaking in over here. What is this? Oh, that's my microphone. Thought I had something going on there. All right. So we click on route tables. It shows it's already created our route tables. Here's our internet gateway that you can look at. And then it's also created some security lists for the thing and some DHCP, NAT gateways, and service gateways. So there you go. you have everything you need to do to start creating really anything, and not just a database. And now that we have all this done, we can create a database. Click on the hamburger, go down to BareMetal, VM, and Exadata, and select that. You see I've already got a couple of databases in this compartment, and that's fine. And this is where we're going to create our new database system. So click the Create DB System button. It's defaulted to the compartment webcasts. And you can either take this name, DB System, or you can create your own. So I'm going to do webcast 4. Here you can pick an availability domain for your purposes. Right now, it doesn't really matter to have the availability domain. You can pick any one, it doesn't matter. Do not click BareMetal or Exadata, just virtual machine. Then you want to select a shape. So the shape is how many cores and how many nodes. So if we click on this, I have the ability with this particular account, I can pick one of either of these. So I can pick one core or 2 cores. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to cancel here. It's already picked the standard 1.1 for me, 1 node, and you can pick your high performance or enterprise edition or whatever. So just take the defaults. It's fine. You know, I'm only going to have these systems up for an hour or 2, so a few bucks to pay for a webcast is not, well, a few bucks for my boss to pay for that webcast. I'm fine with him doing that. You can also adjust the storage here to ridiculous sizes if you want. I'm not going to really do anything with this, so I'm just going to say take the normal 256. Click Next. Now we can pick our database name. I'm going to say this is called Webcast 3. It doesn't matter if all the names match across your server name, database name, any of that stuff. It doesn't really matter. So then you can pick any database version. You know, if you're using JD Edwards, you want to pick 12.201 as your highest. If you're on 9.2.2. If you're on anything lower than that, please check the certifications, because not all versions of JDE can use 12.2. PDB name, if you don't put a PDB name in there, it's just going to create it as webcast 3-PDB1. Yeah, webcast 3-PDB1. If you want to put a different name in there, that's fine. I'm just going to leave it like that and let it create it. So here we go with this is for your sys system, all these other ones. I already have my password saved. I'm going to copy that and put it in to the password thing. This is, if you want to do OLTP or DSS, data warehouse, I'm almost always going to pick OLTP. And this is where you set up backups. I'm not going to set them up, but you can create that here. If you're doing some kind of practice system, you definitely don't need any backups. Let me go back. I'm going to review this. I think I missed a step here. I didn't scroll down far enough. There we go. On the very first screen, I know this. I knew I was missing something, and I'm missing a lot of things actually. So back on the first screen, you want to add your public SSH key. I haven't had too much luck uploading a key, so I always click paste and go over to the text file where I copied my public key and just paste that in there. You can add multiple SSH keys. If you, for some reason, lose your key, you can always log in to your DB instance and add another one if you want to. Your license type for any instance is going to be license included. If you wanted to create just a regular VM with nothing on it, that would be a BYOL probably. So now we want to pick our virtual network. I'm going to pick the virtual network that I created earlier, which is VCN3. In a subnet, since we're just doing a webcast, I'm going to pick the public one. And if you're just practicing or you have a non-prod or non-mission critical system, also pick public. If this is for production or something that's going to have sensitive data on it, pick private. And then you have to jump through some other hoops to get it to be seen outside the OCI, but you don't want to have a production database on a public subnet, but I don't care. All right, hostname prefix. That can be anything you want. I'm just going to call this WebDB. And then you can see it's creating our domain name and a URL. Then this is internal for OCI. Now I can see why I skipped this, because if you don't scroll down, they have the next and cancel right there at the bottom, which looks like you're finished. which is funny because I've done this a dozen times. I should have known that. You also have the show advanced options in here. There's really nothing in there to mess with. So for your purpose, the purposes of this webcast. So click next and pretend I did all this already, which I did. And then finally click create DB system. And now this part here takes like 45 minutes. And I know we don't have time for that. So this is what it looks like while it's creating. I did take some screenshots of what it looks like after it's done. So if you you can look in here, see all these things that you need. Go down to your database name, click webcast, you click your database name, and you can see that this is also in process of provisioning. Once this is finished, you're going to have a lot more options, which is when I go back to the databases I already created. So we got our DB system, blah, 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 here, and the other DB systems. So when I created my other DB systems, I didn't give them any fancy names. I just took the stuff on it. So I'm going to take I'm going to go show you the pub. So I created two different ones. One's in a private subnet, one's in a public subnet. So I'm going to go to this one. Let's just pretend this is the database we just created. So database, this is what it looks like when you're done. DB system it's ready to go. So now we have now that we have this, the database is ready to go. So how do we connect to it? Let's take a look down here. Let's look at the database right here. If you click on WebDB3, we see that it's green and available. If you click this DB connection thing, this information is only for inside the VCN. So if you have a server inside the VCN and you SSH to it, then this is your connection string for it. And if you can show it here. So, and this is just for the CDB root. So there's your connection string from inside the VCN. But if you're outside the VCN, well, that's a different story. That is that's not this thing. So you have to, in order to get your external information, since we created a public IP, public subnet, and put it on the public subnet, which we see right here, we can go to this nodes section under resources, and it shows us our public IP address right there. So now we know our public IP address. And if you look over here, it shows the private IP address. So inside this particular VCN, it's 10.002, and you can show the DNS name for that as well. And like I said, this is internal only. And you do have some other options here. You can stop this node and everything with that on the side. So when you want to connect to it, just copy this IP address right here, copy, and you can go, and so I'm using MOBA extern, but you can actually do, let's see, CMD. You can actually do it from just SSHing from your, from the command line. So let me just change directory to there, and then okay, so I didn't change, okay, I said CDD, okay, D, colon, come on, fingers, there we go. Now let's change to that directory, and we can do, what is it, forget the command, SSH dash hang on a second. That's SSH, God, I can't remember the command. Well, trust me on that. You can connect from here. I thought I had this page open, so all right. So, anyways, I forget the name of all the commands for. Oh, here I found it. Okay. Create the PuTTY definition. Logging in. anyway, so we got the, you just want to SSH from your command line, and I'm not going to bore you with finding the SSH command, but it basically gives you the command line like you would have right here, which I'm just going to click on this. Let me show you how I've set this up. When you set up MobaXterm, I love MobaXterm, and you can organize things really well. You'll put your IP address right here in the remote host. You want to specify the username OPC. Some documentation say Oracle. Don't use Oracle because you'll never get connected. And then under your advanced SSH settings, you want to click Use Private Key and find that private key that you created. Now I created private key 5 for our demonstration, but I'm going to use the key I already created. So you select the private key that you created first at the very beginning of the slideshow, and if you want to change the name of it, you go to bookmark settings and fix it there. Then you click OK. Now, if this is the first time you create it, it's going to automatically try to connect. But since I've already connected, we're just going to go ahead and double click that. And it authenticates with our private key, and now we're logged in as OPC. Now, if you've never logged into an OCI instance, OPC is like root, but it's not, so you have to sudo everything. You want to sudo to su Oracle, and there we go. So now I'm in as Oracle, and if we can do ps-ef grep pmon to see that we can actually see what's running on this system. So, and you can do aura env just like a regular system, and shows the SID. So I'm going to just do SQL plus / as sysdba, if I can type correctly. All right, so now we're in. We can do show con name, and we're on the root of the CDB. So alter session set con name equal to, what do we say this was? Oh, let me show you how to find that. So if you don't know what your PDB, actually I did just show you how to find that. Let's go back to the WebDB and go to databases, WebDB3, view DB connection. So that's CDB root, view database, okay. So the, hang on, trying to find that. The web, see, this is why you should create your PDB name so you don't have to worry about it. I just happen to know that this is called WebPDB3, WebDB3 _ PDB1, and that is hang on a second. Web's kind of lost my my train of thought on finding the database connection. So I'll tell you about that later. When I shoot this out to everybody, I'll tell you how to find the PDB. But in my case, the PDB name looks like, I'll show you what it is. This is what the PDB looks like. WebDB3, PDB1, and then this whoops. This rest of this is your part of your service name. So if you want to connect with SQL Developer, this is the whole thing that you use. And I swear, I don't understand why I can't remember what how to find the PDB, but that's okay. I can connect to it right here. So we're going to call this, wait, let's just, you know what, let's do select star from v$PDBs. So this is another easy way to find out. Okay, select name from v$PDBs. There we go, WebDB3 PDB1. So I didn't have to click anything inside there, I just had to do that. So alter session set container equals WebDB3 _ PDB1. There we go. So here we are. We're now connected to our database that we created on the on the OCI. It's as simple as that. You can start using it right away. Now there's some more things you got to do. If you put it on a private subnet, you have to put in some additional networking components. There's to set it up inside SQL Developer. You just use that connectivity information that you found there. It's basically just the IP address goes in the host name, port 1521, and then your SID or service name. It's just like what we did here. Let's go back real quick before I turn this back over and look at our webcast 4 DB. It's still provisioning. So this is the one we created a minute ago. I'm going to show you one more thing. Once you're done playing around with your database, what do? You want to stop it, like I said. You want to be charged for any of this. So you can terminate the database itself from here, or you can terminate the server itself from this screen, or even back on the DB systems page. So we'll go to terminate. And this, well, okay, so this is how you delete it. You actually maybe want to stop the system, which is a better idea. Okay, I'm running out of time. I do need to terminate this system because I've had this out here for too long, so I'll show you the, oh, come on. You got to copy the database system name before you terminate it. So that's one I created earlier, and if you go into this system and you see DBS terminating, then you know it's actually being shut down. And this is the database system that I have here. That is so how you stop your database. If you don't want to just delete it, you go into Nodes and click Stop, and you can also reboot it if you want. So we're going to stop this database that I was using as an example, and you see here that it's the node is stopping. Go back to our DB systems page. Your database that I created for you is still provisioning. It's going to be another probably 30 minutes before it's done. Let me look at my slide deck to make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, I think that I'm going to turn this all over.
Back to me?
Back to you, yep.
Right. Thank you so much, Bill. That was great.
You're welcome.
All right, let me know when you can see my screen.
I see it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I just want to cover a few follow-up items, and then we'll move into our question and answer section of our webcast. Our webcast today is part of GSI's free ongoing educational webcast series on J.D. Edwards. And our upcoming webcasts are currently listed on the screen. Make sure to check back at our website at getgsi.com/JD Edwards webcast because we are adding more every single day. ERP Talk is a problem-solving forum where you can get your J.D. Edwards and other enterprise applications questions answered, and you can also actually answer other people's questions as well. So it's a great community for that. And be sure to stay connected with us on social media. All of our handles are currently listed on the screen, and you can see our most up-to-date posts on webcasts, events, industry insights, and a whole lot more than that. And we provide extensive free educational resources for the J.D. Edwards community, including our weekly educational webcasts, our monthly newsletter called the GSI Insider, and our online resource center, where you can access our on-demand webcasts, white papers, and presentations from our webcasts. And then we also host on-site and virtual workshops. Now, if you'd like to sign up for our weekly email reminders for upcoming webcasts or our monthly newsletter, or create an account to access our resource center, just go to getgsi.com, go over to resources and events on the main page, and then you can select J.D. Edwards off to the right-hand side. All right. Okay, Bill. The only question I see here is from Mark, and he asked if we would have this available afterwards. So after the webcast today, we will put it up on our website, and you will have access to the presentation that Bill presented as well.
Yep, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Also, I highly encourage you to go through the OCI level 100, 200, 300 videos. They are on YouTube. They have them all in a playlist in the order that makes sense. So all of those things I showed you about networking and all the, that pre-work stuff, they explain that in the video. So if you just go straight to the database one and try to do that, it depends on all the other things that had been done before. So things like the container and the VCN and that stuff. So go check that out. The OCI level 100. There's two different versions out there. There's one that's new in 2019, in November 2019. But the previous version actually I think is a little bit better, and they actually do hands-on demos as part of the older version. You still want to look at the newer version because the interfaces with OCI have changed in the last few months, and you don't want to. You might be a little surprised when you're clicking around. So just keep them both on there, and they do provide all of their stuff, all of their PDF, their presentations as PDFs.
Great, thank you so much, Bill. And as a follow-up from today's webcast, we ask that you complete a short 1-minute survey when you exit, and you will be receiving an email with a link to our resource center on our website where you can access the recording from today's webcast as well as a copy of the presentation. And after today's webcast, we will do the drawing for the $25 Amazon gift card. And anybody that attended the entire webcast will be eligible, and we will notify the winner. If you do have any follow-up questions, you can contact Bill or myself. Our contact info is currently listed on the screen. I want to thank you all again so much for attending. And Bill, thank you so much for your great presentation today. And
Welcome.
thanks. We hope that you guys have a great day.